long before the studio lights flare to life at today, before the low murmur of producers and the shuffle of papers in Rockefeller Center's corridors, Al Roker begins a quieter performance, one unseen, untelevised, yet essential to the steady presence millions have welcomed into their homes for decades. And for those now in their early 60s who have risen with him through seasons of career, parenthood, setbacks, and renewal, his morning ritual feels less like celebrity routine and more like a shared discipline shaped by time. He wakes before dawn, not with the restless urgency of youth, but with the deliberate awareness of a man who understands that the body must be coaxed, not commanded, into motion, especially after surgeries and health battles that reminded him how fragile even the most familiar rhythms can be. And he sits for a moment at the edge of the bed, letting gratitude settle in before his feet touch the floor, breathing slowly, as if already sinking himself to the cadence of the broadcast day. The city outside is still hushed, a rare silence in Manhattan, and in that pocket of calm he stretches, carefully, respectfully, feeling the small negotiations between muscle and memory, honoring the quiet truth that vitality at 60+ is not about proving strength, but about preserving it. In the kitchen, the ritual continues with measured choices, water first, then a balanced breakfast aligned with the hard-earned wisdom of years spent learning what sustains rather than spikes, what fuels clarity rather than fatigue. And as he reviews weather models on his tablet, satellite swirls and temperature graphs unfolding in cool blues and urgent reds, he does not rush to conclusions, but allows the data to breathe, knowing that the audience he serves, many navigating their own health concerns, retirement calculations, or the tender ache of grown children living far away, deserves steadiness more than spectacle. Sometimes Deborah Roberts joins him in the kitchen, her presence both grounding and galvanizing, and their exchange is less about headlines than about intention. How will today feel? What tone does the country need? Questions born of decades in journalism and a shared understanding that information without empathy can bruise rather than bolster. Deborah, who has faced her own demanding assignments, reminds him that ritual is resilience, that the repetition of mindful habits is what allows spontaneity to shine without chaos. And Al listens, not as a star seeking advice, but as a partner grateful for perspective. By the time he steps into the car headed toward the studio, he has already rehearsed not just the forecast, but the emotional temperature of the morning, anticipating how a coming storm might stir old anxieties in viewers who remember blackouts and battered shorelines, considering how to frame uncertainty without undermining confidence. And as he passes the familiar skyline, he reflects on the arc of his career, how the young weatherman eager to impress gradually evolved into a seasoned broadcaster who understands that authenticity outlasts flash. At the studio, amid the choreography of cameras and countdowns, his ritual narrows into focus. A few quiet stretches behind the set, a sip of water, a moment with the crew whose camaraderie feels like family, and then a brief closing of the eyes as he aligns breath with purpose, a synchronization of mind and body that transforms nerves into energy. He has learned that anxiety is often just unchanneled care, and care, when directed, becomes clarity. For viewers who have watched their own reflections change in the mirror over the decades, who have felt the recalibration of priorities that comes with milestone birthdays and medical appointments, there is something profoundly reassuring in seeing a man acknowledge time not as adversary, but as teacher, integrating its lessons into each broadcast. When the red light blinks on and he begins to speak about cold fronts advancing across the Midwest or a heat wave settling over the South, his voice carries not only meteorological facts, but the quiet strength of preparation, the invisible scaffolding of stretches, breaths, conversations, and contemplation that preceded it. And if a segment runs long or breaking news reshapes the rundown, he adapts with the composure of someone who has already centered himself, who knows that flexibility is easier when the foundation is firm. Later, when the show wraps and the applause fades into the rustle of departure, he often reflects on the subtle victories of the morning, not the ratings or viral clips, but the knowledge that he delivered complexity with calm, that he honored both the science and the souls listening. And in the evening, back home with Deborah, he revisits the day not to critique, but to appreciate, recognizing that synchronization is ongoing, that mind and body must be realigned each dawn. For an audience standing at the threshold between legacy and leisure, wondering how to shape mornings without the structure of full-time work, or how to maintain purpose amid shifting roles, Al Roker's ritual offers a gentle blueprint. Begin with gratitude, move with intention, nourish wisely, seek counsel from those you trust, and step into the spotlight, whatever form it takes in your life, grounded in the quiet work done before anyone else is watching. Because true steadiness on stage, whether in a television studio or the unfolding theater of later life, is born in those early hours when the world is still dark and the heart, disciplined by experience, chooses once again to rise.